Happy day, y'all. It's Rachel Joy Barbeau from the Joy Starters podcast, and I am so jacked for the conversation that you are about to hear. So let me just go ahead and give you a little forewarning about this. There were a lot of tears, and I have stopped apologizing for my tears because I'm so grateful that I can emote, I can share, I can express myself. But y'all, these are the people, and I know so many wonderful people, but these are the people that I chose for the very first retreat that is here in Amelia Island. I did one years ago right after my mom passed away, but this is the first one I'm doing here in my new hometown in Yulee, Fernandina area. And so these are the speakers that I have chosen for the retreat. And even if you're not able to come to the retreat, you need to hear these stories. These are how I knew them, who they are, what they're doing, how they're changing the world, and then you go follow them. So I hope you love it. You'll hear part 1, and then next week you'll hear part 2. Love you guys.
So I wanted to keep a tissue here because I've been thinking about how I wanted to introduce y'all. And I wanted to say this, that like you guys, I know thousands of people and thousands of speakers and thousands of presenters and entertainers and lots of people. But I want y'all to know that I chose you for a great purpose. And I've done this before. Laura has done this with me before, the year that my mama passed away. The last retreat that I hosted was supposed to be the weekend that she passed away. And so we kicked it another couple of months and down the road, a few months in Nashville. And there's Lindsay. And whew, okay. And so when we did this before, we did it in Nashville, and it was lovely and wonderful. And I'm about to tell you how I know Laura, and I'm going to introduce all of you guys. And so this time together is really sacred this morning, and tell you what you mean to me. And so we kicked it another couple of months down the road to August, and it was amazing. And one of the events that we had during that time was a candlelight concert with Laura. And we got to, I'm going to actually do this. Hold on a second. I'm going to pin her. And we had a candlelight concert with Laura, and we were at a friend of ours restaurant, and she sang. And I'm going to let Laura tell you a little bit about herself, and I'm going to do this with each one of you guys. But I met Laura years ago, and some friends of mine were fans of hers, and I saw her at a venue in Atlanta. And I call her a tiny giant. This little tiny giant comes out, and she's playing every instrument, and she's singing. And the lyrics, y'all, were about joy and soul and rebirth and love. And I was like, OMG. And I know a lot of musicians. So I went backstage and I met her, and I'm not ashamed to say that I fangirled big time. And so I went to see her in Nashville. And from that, I said to Laura, I said, hey, I've got a room in Nashville if you ever need a place to stay. And so I went from fangirl to we became friends. And then I call her one of my best friends, y'all. She was in my wedding. She sang in my wedding. And we've seen a lot of different versions of each other. And I've seen what her gift to the world does for people. And I've seen how she's using her gift to change the world and all the different versions of herself. And I want to introduce y'all to Miss Laura Reed, international musician, amazing human. And she's going to tell you about all the other things she's doing. But I want you guys to understand what's going to happen, to give you a little bit of a context of what's going to happen. On Friday night, she will be performing, weather permitting, if it's not too cold, on the beach. We'll have a bonfire, and she will sing and then explain and answer questions and talk about her life. And Laura, I'd love if you would tell the group about early on in your life when she's shared stages with some of the biggest people in the world, how she had the offer to sell out and to become somebody different than she was. And she said, no, I will not do that. And so I just wanted y'all to understand what you're about to experience. And this whole weekend is going to be sacred, absolutely sacred. But the time with Laura is sacred. We were in a candlelight room in a back restaurant in Nashville, and everybody was in tears. People are asking questions. People's souls are open. And that is the point of this weekend that we're putting together. And I want to say this, and I'll shut up and let her talk. is I don't have to do this. There's no part of me that I said, I woke up and I said, I'm just going to do, I need to do this. I need this for my revenue or my bottom line. Y'all, the reason why I'm doing this is because my soul told me to do it. I know there are people that need you all. I know there are marriages that need you, Shannon and Shirley. I know, Jerremy, there are people that need you. They need to get their time back. They need to learn how to connect with their soul. They need to learn the true meaning of wealth. Lindsay, people need to understand and spend time with you on how to go inward. And Laura, people need your gift of the journey that you've been on. And I needed to say that before I turn it over to Laura, that there wasn't a need to do this, but there was a soul need. Like my soul called. And I said, okay, I'll do this. And so I needed to say that to each one of you as we were joining together this morning, that this really is a soul calling. And I know there are people in this community and people that are flying in from all over that are going to be forever changed because of your involvement with this. That's it. And Laura, go ahead. I'll shut up for a minute.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Laura and Rachel. I'm honored to be a part of this vision and this event with so many amazing people. And you're an amazing person. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet you that night. And she did really become family. She was like, yeah, I got this room in Nashville. And you had a radio show too. You're like, come and talk on my radio show. And I'm a touring musician. I've been a musician kind of my whole life. And I started singing on the street. So when someone offers their home to me, I take that very serious. I was like, that's like a high honor. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Because I wasn't living in Nashville at the time. I was going back and forth. And it's like anytime you have an opportunity to build your community, I always want to take it. And that's a big part of doing music for me. It's much bigger than the music. It's about community. It's about connecting with people. It's about social justice and humanity. Originally, I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. My mom's South African and my dad's from Nashville, Tennessee. So coming from somewhere like South Africa, I've always felt a responsibility to really try and move the needle and be involved. Been an activist since I was a child, really. Just any kind of injustice and oppression to have come from that. And then I moved to rural North Carolina. I was like, oh, they got apartheid here too. For real. And so it's always been very much in the forefront of my mind. And I saw music as a medium for change. And that's how I got involved in songwriting. All my first songs were really like protest songs and anthems, and it was about bringing people together. And I recognize so much of the power of unity and of community. I was writing songs from 14, and at 17 I was already living on my own, traveling around. It's a long story. I won't go into all of it, but my first real music gig was I got discovered by George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic. And he had heard about me from musicians in New Orleans because I was singing on the street there, and brought me in. And I had never sang in a real studio before. And all of a sudden, I was surrounded by my heroes, a lot of these Motown greats from Detroit, and everyone all in the same room. And they really took me under their wing. And that's really where I started to learn about music, family, and community, and the power of songwriting. And it led to me having my own band and doing so much from there. That was the beginning of the story that I'm very grateful for. Since then, I've been doing all of it, toured all over the world. I was a writer at Sony out of Nashville for many years. And when Rachel talks about not selling out, I've had just probably so many artists, those opportunities where it's, look, if you will do what you're told, fit in this box, it's probably going to accelerate this journey for you in what other people might think is success. But my version of success, my concept of success is very different. For me, it's integrity and authenticity. That is success. If you're able to live authentically in the world, do what it is you're passionate about, and keep your integrity, that's success. And so I remember them wanting to like over sexualize me and change all the lyrics of the music. And I fought. I fired people. I left Sony. I ended up starting my own label called 5 Foot Giant, put out my album called The Awakening myself. And everyone thought I was crazy because I was walking away from a big check. But I wasn't going to be able to release the music I wanted to and do it in the way that felt authentic. So many of us, I'm sure, could write a book. I could write a book about some of the situations I walked away from. People are starting to learn about the human trafficking that was happening in the industry. And Rachel, I haven't even told you some of the stuff I experienced in Atlanta, and I might share more about that. But now
Please.
that some stuff is coming out,
Yes.
that was around me. There's people that I was signed to on the same label that I don't ever know what happened to, young girls.
Mercy.
Yep. And I was able to get out of Atlanta, but I was threatened and I had to get a lawyer, and they were, you're done, you're never making music again. And I really believed them. And it was not long after that I got that publishing deal. I wrote a song called Struggle about that whole test. And as they say, you can't have a testimony without a test. So it's funny, I wrote this song called Struggle about almost giving up. I was a single mom, WIC and welfare, and had my baby and moved to Nashville. And that was the song that ended up getting me signed. And I was able to move out of Section 8 housing into my first apartment. It was just those crazy things that you just know that this is much bigger than you.
Yeah.
And being able to just pivoted many times since then, like I'm sure everybody here has. I don't want to talk too much, Rachel, but I'm happy to answer questions. But where I am now, I'm a mother of two beautiful boys, and I consider that my first job. That's the first thing that I'm doing every day, thinking about every day. And music is the soundtrack. It's my passion. It's a gift that has afforded me to be able to live and take care of my kids. But I do many other things these days, and I'll talk more about it. I'm always thinking of how can I weave music in with other things I'm passionate about, doing a lot of food justice work. So I've been part of a thing called the Holyoke Food Collective, where I've been traveling around and we're getting gleaned food from farms. And I'm actually help cooking and serve meals, free meals for large communities. We were just in South Carolina doing work with the Gullah community out there. We were just in Mashpee, Massachusetts, working with the Mashpee Wampanoag people, doing a big event there. I was in another event in Massachusetts. We fed about 200 people for free. So that's something I've always been passionate about. Rachel knows I love food. I love music. So I've been figuring out how do I integrate them. In a lot of these events, I'll end up singing, but I'm also cooking for people. And I've been gardening and growing my own food for as long as I can remember. So that's something I'm trying to integrate more. I'll talk about this. I haven't told you, Rachel, but I bought some land recently in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And going to be starting an organic farm and working with the communities there, and have an event space where it's going to be all about bringing in community and getting food to people. Just getting food to people. My current partner's from Oaxaca, Mexico, and he is big in the indigenous food sovereignty movement. And so we're looking at how do we incorporate what we're doing and work with local tribes and making music at the same time, turning an old tobacco barn into a venue. That's also going to be a space where we feed people. It's always evolving. It's always changing. I'm constantly just ignoring people when they tell me I can't do it, or I'm like, anyway, y'all don't know my stubborn. But yeah, so I'll be talking more about that. I'm always pivoting. I always feel like I'm reinventing myself. And from the exterior, it could be the style of music. It could be my hair. It could be these superficial things. But really, for me, I feel like I've always been on the same path. Even though I'm pivoting, I feel like I haven't left the path. It's just the exterior changes. The people around me maybe change. My location changes. But it's all about how do we bring people together in an authentic way, using our gifts and making sure the most vulnerable are being looked out for.
Yes.
And I think music is a really great tool to bring people together. I joke around and say we got to put medicine in the sugar instead of sugar in the medicine. It's like having these songs where it's there is a message and there is an intention behind it, and it sounds like R&B and pop music, and it looks like I'm just trying to put on a show. But at every show, we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we involve the local community? So I used to do touring where we were visiting prisons and we were visiting orphanages, and we were working with kids when we were on the road. It's during the day, how can we be involved in the community? So that's a big part of what I'm passionate about, and trying to just grow on that and do more of it and be useful and use my gifts.
Ooh. So can you tell just by, and we're gonna go around, but can you tell just by hearing from Laura, every single one of your healers in your own way? I knew I was gonna cry through this whole thing, and that's why I brought you
It's
together. I know. That's why I brought you to, you knew my mom, Laura. And that's why I brought y'all together. You all are using your this time here that you've been given to heal others. And that includes your imperfections. And I say this all the time. Your imperfections are the things that draw people to you, not your perfections. Your story, your grit, the smoke that's still on you. And I love that you said that, Laura, because I say that all the time. If people say, let's have a talk about mental health, people know they need to, but they don't want to hear that. They don't want to do that. But if you say, let's talk about joy and soul and purpose, and you put the medicine in the sugar, right? I always say put the vegetables in the shake, then they're getting and they're talking about their mental health. But oh, by the way, they're talking about joy and purpose and their soul. And so they're getting the medicine, right? And so I love that you said that because I've been saying that for years about what I do. And I just love it. I love it. And Jerremy, I'd love just to for you to share next. And my personal story with Jerremy, y'all, is much like Laura, much like all of us. When you're a healer, when you're sent to do that and you know that, there are many pivots, there are many turns, there are many bends in the road, there are many failures, there's many things where we fall down, we dust ourselves off, and we get back up. And during the pandemic, I started something called PALS, and it started as player alignment liaison. And it was for players after they were getting out of college that felt very vulnerable, that no longer had structure, that no longer had food, that no longer had identity. And then it turned into, after the pandemic, people alignment liaison. And I met Jerremy through our friend Brittany Turner, who went from being homeless to now owns an island next to Richard Branson and literally goes all over the world, another healer, changing lives, changing communities, changing governments, helping out after disasters, just a fantastic human being. So I met Jerremy and we had an instant spark. And here's how unselfish, like all of you are, selfless Jerremy is. He would show up every month to that meeting that I hosted online. And we're talking about young, old, pink, purple, black, white, people in England, athletes, older people, married, widowed, all ages, all stages, all backgrounds. And Jerremy would come on, a man who, much like you guys, is got a hefty price tag if you can even buy his time. And he would come on and give his time, give his expertise, give of himself freely and openly. And I remember a friend of mine came to me and said, I lost my husband, and my husband knew all about the finances, and I didn't know anything about it. And I'm deeply in debt, and I'm scared. Do you think Jerremy would talk to me? And I told Jerremy, and Jerremy got on the phone with her and helped her and guided her. I knew with this first one that I was doing, I wanted somebody like him, just like I wanted Laura, just like I wanted Shannon and Shirley and Lindsay and Kim behind the scenes. I wanted Jerremy to come in and teach about true wealth, about risking it all, about the power of community and creating wealth. And I'll also say this. Jerremy, much like Shannon and Shirley, and I've talked about this publicly, Jerremy helped save my marriage. I called him one day a couple of years ago, and I was complaining about some things that were going on. And he asked me point blank, and I'm writing about this in my next book. He asked me point blank, do you love your husband? And I said, very much. And he said, are you in love with your husband? And I said, I am. And he said, you need to straighten your crown and be the queen that I think you are, and you know you are. And you need to get both feet in and stop having one foot out, one foot in. I took his advice, and it was a pivotal moment in my marriage. And so that's why I wanted you, Jerremy, to come and pour into these souls that are going to be there. Much like Laura, a fantastic human being.
Thank you, Rachel. And it's going to be an honor. It's going to be a privilege. And here's the crazy part. Some of you have actually met Rachel in person. We still haven't, even though we've probably done.
You're kidding.
I'm muted. Sorry.
There you go.
My bad. Yes, I was going to say, Rachel, thank you. You're so sweet. You're so kind. And here's what's crazy. I have actually met Rachel and we still haven't met in person. And so we've been doing Zooms together. We probably did like our 100th webinar together. So it's amazing. It's wonderful. And she's a sister from another mister, as they say. But it's going to be an honor. It's going to be a very powerful event. And just like Rachel, I've hosted events probably every 12 to 14 days somewhere else in the world. I'm either attending or hosting one. And I do focus a lot on wealth, but wealth, I think we all know, can mean so many things and generally does. Relationships is a big one. Health. If you got your health, you don't feel very wealthy. You guys ever been? I have three little boys, and two of them were super sick 2 weeks ago, and I got all this pain and frustration and sadness is right there when your kids are sick and you can't really do anything about it. You don't feel very wealthy at that exact moment in time. And it's just a great reminder that there's so much out there that we can tweak and optimize and adjust. But I also have figured out the money game. I understand money very well. And I do work with extremely high-end individuals, ultra high net worth clients is kind of my main focus. Usually athletes, celebrities, musicians, people that have made a few million or a few hundred million. They're like, what do I do now with it? I've already had a career and I want to be more impactful. I want to give more. And generally the big fear that comes up is if I want to give a bunch of money, so now I'm not going to have any for my family. So I help people navigate both of those fears where, hey, you can perpetually give, you can step into faith, and you can have endless income once you understand certain tactics. Those tactics generally are very easy wealth-based tactics, like it's just second grade math. That's what wealth is. Wealth is second grade math repeated consistently. So I help people do that. And my main focus has been the stock market, but really it's just the liquid markets. So you've all heard of Bitcoin. So it's everything that's fast and volatile and scary for most people is my safe place. And I help people understand how it becomes very safe and how they can create generational wealth for their family. And it's going to be an incredible event. I appreciate you using the word healer, Rachel. I would have never called myself that 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And my wife, she's an incredible healer and she keeps pouring and using that word into me as well because I help people with their finances and I really heal their money. I heal their relationship with money. And that's what we're going to do in this conference is we're going to make them wealthy. We're going to make them healthy. We're going to help them heal so many parts of their life, but even more than that, we're going to give them an experience unlike anything they've ever had before. Rachel used the word extraordinary. It's going to do exactly that. When they attend in the middle of it and when they leave, they're going to know that they changed the narrative of their life.
Yeah.
They were able to change the direction, they were able to change the course, and they were able to go into bigger, into bolder, into greater, into more. And it's going to be an incredible opportunity.
Jerremy, really quickly before we move on, will you share one of the stories you shared in one of the Pals calls, many Pals calls? You talked about risking it all. There was a story in which you put everything that you had, you cleared the bank account at some point in your career. Will you tell the story to everybody else?
I got a few. Yeah, a few. Rachel mentioned one of my business partners earlier, Brittany Turner, and one of the first things she ever told me was, "Hey, I don't work with anyone who hasn't lost all their money." I was like, "That's great news." Hi, I've been broke so many times, and one of the events that did change my life ultimately in a very beautiful way is I've lost millions of dollars 3 separate times in my 20s,
Wow.
and two of them were other people's money. Wasn't even mine. And not only now I did have to pay them back, but I was in debt and all the things that happened. And it was really ultimately what it came down to was me and God were fighting, or at least I thought like I was fighting God. I think that's what it was. God wasn't fighting me, but I was really angry. And I was trying to figure out why all these things were happening to me. And I didn't understand that they were a gift. They were happening for me. And
Woo!
it was to show me something. It was to show me how to be grateful, how to be in gratitude, how to just say thank you for all the gifts that I was being given, because I never said thank you to anyone other than me. And it wasn't that I was being selfish, I was just being ignorant. I wasn't being aware that there was other powers, other forces, other people in play who gave me the life, who gave me responsibility, who gave me opportunity to be in the right place at the right time. And losing all that money was a lesson that I just needed to learn. And the lesson to learn was gratitude. And so in 2016 and 2017, I learned about something called Bitcoin. And I did start studying it very intently. And I studied it for an entire year. And I learned mathematically that this is a formula where it's an asset that's going to go higher over time and it's unstoppable. No government can turn it off. No system can stop it. It's only going to go higher over time. And after I did enough research and I felt very confident that an investment would work out, I sold everything that I owned. Sold my PlayStation 4. I mean, I sold my Jordans. Sold my Jordans, like used Jordans on eBay. Sold those, sold the ones that sold everything. And even borrowed a little bit of money from a friend and bought $250,000 worth of Bitcoin. And
Wow.
it ended up becoming worth tens of millions just a few years later. And for the first time, after all that had happened, I finally said thank you. I realized in 2017 that, again, everything was happening for me and not to me. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to keep it this time. The fourth time I made money, I'm going to keep it this time. And so I learned that making money is one energy. And I think we all have made money in our lives. And in fact, I know we have all made it. Making money is one thing. Keeping it is a whole other thing. And then multiplying it's a different energy. Those three energies are something I've just focused a lot of time, energy, and attention on, and I'm the best in the world at it. And it's going to be an honor to be with all of you and share the same room and share the same space and share the same grace.
Whew, Lord, do y'all see? Do y'all see? Do y'all see? Do you see? We've just got two so far. You see why I brought it all together? Like it was kismet, it was meant to be. And what you said, you talked about energy and mindset. And I know this, like I know this, like I know the moon is going to be up tonight, is that your energy comes in a room before you get there. And your energy with money and your energy with lack and poverty or overflow and abundance, it is an energy. And I know for a fact myself, I can speak it, where as a sportscaster, an entrepreneur, you get money, but then you're scared that it's going to go out, right? And it's your energy to it. And I'm going to be in the back of the room, just like everybody else, taking notes. I'm going to be woohoo and doing all the things, because something you said really got me. And it was when I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And I started asking, what am I supposed to be learning from this? That's when my life got infinitely more valuable, deeper, richer, more profound, and I became more grateful. One is a victim mentality, and the other is a victor mentality. And so we're going to learn a lot from Jerremy. He's humble. He actually, one of the other things he does is he'll be teaching both men and women here, but I've seen him take men and take them on journeys, literally physical journeys, and help them rediscover who they are and help them become better humans, better husbands, better sons, better fathers, and just wake up their souls. And so I am thrilled for him to join us.